Good morning to all the students and staff at Naparima Girls High School. A special good morning to the new formal intake and their parents. Today marks the beginning of a new chapter in your life, not only from an academic perspective, but some of you may very well develop lifelong friendships with your future classmates. So without further ado, let us begin our presentation today. So today I'm here to share with you some cyber safety tips for you, the virtual student. Now, Naparima Girls has been on the Google Classroom platform and have embraced blended learning long before COVID-19. And the push to a fully online learning environment may not have been as challenging to this school as it would have been for many others. What does this mean for you? It means that you're going to be expected to quickly overcome some technology hurdles that you may not be familiar with, and you may have to spend some extra time in learning about the Google Classroom environment while you're learning about new subjects that are being taught to you every day. So you will need to become familiar with online tools such as Google Classroom, Google Meet, Zoom. You might even have to learn about Microsoft Teams. The fact of the matter is, you're just going to have to become a lot more confident with your computer and using your computer for doing research, doing assignments, typing up assignments, saving things, and so on. So it's something that you're going to have to be really proficient with in a very short space of time. One of the things that you're going to need to learn is typing. So how many of you can type without looking at the keyboard? Yeah. Well, that's a skill that you're going to have to adapt to very quickly. The website that you're seeing here, www.typing.academy, has a lot of tutorials. They have games. They take you from a beginner to advanced perspective. They even have a way to check to see how fast or how many words you type per minute. When I looked at the site, I did a test and I was averaging about 59 words per minute. That's something that you're going to have to work towards, because it would be a lot easier for you if you can type while your teacher is speaking, so that you can have your notes down or almost seamlessly. And it's easier to type because than writing your notes down. Sometimes it's easier to just transcribe it. You can write it thereafter, but at the end of the day, you still want to learn about getting up to speed with typing. Now, why am I telling you that you need to spend some of your free time to learn these new tools and so on? You see, this transition to a fully online learning environment could prove to be a little bit more challenging than you expect. And one of the reasons for that is this post-SEA mindset. So what is that post-SEA mindset, you ask? Well, chances are you're probably still on that post-SEA mindset. That one where there was no schedule. You would get up at any time, eat at any time, be on your device all the time, right? There was no internet restrictions or parental controls. You had little or no responsibility, and you're probably allowed to get away with just about everything. Now, while that was all well and good, and you probably deserve that freedom post-SEA, I'm here to remind both you and your parents that it's back to business, and there must now be a greater sense of responsibility, and in this case, independence, than you would have ever demonstrated in your academic career before. I've experienced it, and I'm sure that teachers at Naparima Girls High School have too as well, where recent intakes of students have shown that this post-SEA mindset is still in effect, not only for the first term, but sometimes for the whole of Form 1, and that can have far-reaching repercussions as you continue along your learning in Forms 2 and Form 3 and 4, when the academic workload becomes a lot heavier. So it's easy to figure out if you're still in this post-SEA mode with some simple questions. Have you gotten back into a normal routine? Are you getting on average 6 to 8 hours of sleep? Are there any distractions, device distractions after 9 or 10 p.m.? Uh, Now, I know many times when I speak about spending too much time online, it's met with a lot of opposition, and many kids still believe that they are not spending that amount of time. The bigger challenge now, however, is that you're on your device to learn, and that's going to take up quite a lot of your allowed screen time. So now in the past, where your screen time would have been less weighted on academic stuff and more weighted on social and gaming, now it's the reverse. Now the majority of your screen time would be for school-related activities. And we really just need to know when to put down the device and give our eyes a rest. So it's going to be difficult, to be able to keep those streaks going, but we have to be mindful that we don't fall prey to having too much screen time because it would lead to, some negative effects. Some of those negative effects you hopefully haven't already experienced them, but things like dry eyes, headaches, tiredness, those could be a sign that you're spending a bit too much time behind the device. Alternatively, parents, have you noticed any of these signs in your daughter? Anxiety, dishonesty, feelings of euphoria when they are on the device, inability to prioritize or keep schedules, no sense of time, a little bit of defensiveness when you ask about how much time is spent on the device, an avoidance of work, mood swings, and the list goes on. These could actually be telltale signs of internet addiction, and it's not something that you want to be having. Now, it's not bad to spend a little time each day in some mindless activity, playing games or whatever it may be. But we need to weigh the amount of time that we dedicate towards that now. And just to bring things into perspective, let's do a little bit of maths. Now, I know that the term just started, but bear with me here. So now I'm a little good in maths, but maybe not as good as Miss Bastio, but I'm sure that not even she can show how 1 month can be lost in a fortnight. So hear me out. If on average you spend 2 hours a day, on social media or playing games, that's 28 hours in a fortnight, which we can round after just about one day. And that'll give us approximately 2 days every month, nearly 24 days each year. So that's less about 1 month if we were to take on the weekends. So there you have it. 1 month of time lost in a fortnight. So you understand what I'm trying to explain here, that sometimes you just have to be really mindful about the amount of time you spend and how better that time could have been used to be doing something a little bit more productive, especially now that we're entering back into the school term. I mean, to get back into that mode. And the thing is, it's going to be a lot more difficult now to navigate between game time and work time, because this is where we have things such as um, our playing device and our learning device being the same thing and causing, as you're seeing on your screen here, distractions. So we've established that we probably going to have some challenges in putting down the device. And it's now not we don't need to put down the device because we're playing too much on it, but we're also learning on it. It's transitioning to a fully online learning environment means that the device that we're using to learn is quite possibly also the device that we're using to play. So dealing with distractions that come out of these devices in a 2020 online learning world is going to be a lot more difficult. So here are some tips, that we could probably implement. Sorry, not tips that you should look at and implement these tricks to deal with these distractions. So firstly, let's look at turning off notifications, and we can turn off notifications from the games that we might have or the social media apps that we might have, so that we don't get disturbed during the day. Something such as enabling do not disturb will help us deal with those type of notifications as well, and also the phone ringing and so on. Use a headphone so you kind of drown out the outside noise. Sit in a quiet area, preferably not a bedroom. When you go into the bedroom, your mind thinks about sleeping and not working. Keep a clean, organized workspace, and don't forget to take breaks. I think this is probably one of the most important points on this slide. Get up, take a stretch, take a walk, go outside, change the scenery, get some vitamin D. It will help to break the monotony and I'm sure also help to manage the stress. So the interesting thing is, as we said, being on the device for both work and play is going to be difficult for us to work with, and it could mean that it's a distraction that is going to be very difficult for us to deal with. Social media in its whole can be a huge distraction, as well as online gaming, especially when you need to keep that phone handy for your online class. Normally, the school policy would have prevented you from having your phone during class, but this time around, in even some places, your phone is your class. So it's definitely a double-edged sword where we're going to end up with both positive and negative effects of utilizing the device. The problem, however, is when the negative effects begin to outweigh the positive. So that's where we're going to have some challenges in terms of being able to manage those negative effects of excessive social media or gaming. And like I said, it's easy to become numb, to the do's and don'ts of social media when you're engaged in it on a daily basis. So too much use of social media or gaming can lead to feelings of inadequacy, the fear of missing out, depression and anxiety, self-absorption, that's taking too many selfies, and cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is the topic that we want to spend a little bit more time on today because it's one that has reared its head over the years, and it continues to plague not just this school but many schools in Trinidad and Tobago. So it's really important that you understand what cyberbullying is, and that's what we're going to try to do in the next slide. So today we'll focus on cyberbullying and highlight some of the unseen traits of cyberbullying that has been surfacing over years. We will begin with a definition of what the act is, and this comes from the Cybercrime Bill of 2017, and it states that a cyberbully is someone who uses a computer system repeatedly or continuously to convey information which causes fear, intimidation, distress, or other harm to another person, or detriment to another person's health, emotional well-being, self-esteem, or reputation. So yes, that's a mouthful. Let's just pull out some terms from that definition here. So a cyberbully is someone who uses a computer to convey information which causes fear, distress, or harm to another person's health, emotional, self-esteem, or reputation. So it's a very broad definition, but all of the examples that you're seeing on the screen here fall under that definition of cyberbullying. I have taken the liberty to highlight some of them in red because those are the ones that have a bit more common. So spreading rumors, hate speech and name calling, sharing of private photos, which is known as outing, and creating fake profiles, which is known as masquerading. Those are the examples of cyberbullying that we would see on a regular basis, and sometimes it generally starts off as some sort of argument between two students, sometimes offline, but more so now, just strictly online. And one student decides, you know what, I am just going to retaliate and post up something on the internet, spraying a rumor or name calling, or worse yet, sharing some sort of private information. And this can have very far-reaching repercussions, so much so that, the student could be suspended, expelled, even in the worst case. Actually, that's not even the worst case. The worst case would be where the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has to come in, and they may have to, use the law and lay some charges depending on the seriousness of the crime, and that is exactly what it is. It's a crime. So we have to be very mindful as to what we say. We can't let our emotions take control of us before we post on the internet. Um, you would have heard the saying, think before you post, and that is now more pertinent than before, particularly with things like the Offences Against the Persons Act, which is currently being used in lieu of the Cybercrime Bill. So it's something that you have to be extremely aware of. So now that the relationships that you're going to have, with your classmates are going to be digital, these digital relations would be quite easy for us to act in it in a digital way as well, right? So I know moms and dads, you're listening on and thinking that, your little girl here, they're going to remain insulated and innocent forever. However, the reality of it is that, they're growing into young adults, and even though the face-to-face social interactions might be temporarily hindered, the interactions are still going to continue online. And it being online, it's going to be easier for them to share, things, or say things, or do things online that, they may come to regret. And a particular case that, we're just going to speak a little bit more about digital relations, but, it becomes a little bit more when, they get involved, So this brings me, as I said, to the topic of digital relationships. The digital relationships is a very real and serious event of a teenager's life, and it's amplified now more so to COVID and the lockdown. So what exactly is a digital relationship? This is a relationship where communication between two or more parties are conducted over technological platforms. So digital relationships can be professional, business, academic, or, as you're seeing on the slide here, romantic. A digital romantic relationship would start on the internet, would evolve on the internet, and, quite possibly even end on the internet without the two parties, the two individuals ever meeting face to face. And that's the reality of it. This is 2020, and this is the world that we are living in. So you have to be very mindful, and this goes to the students here. You have to be very mindful of what you say, what you do, but more importantly, what you share. Because you have to see and read this screen here that says, remember that nothing is secure or private once shared online. Don't fall prey to the belief that if I share something with my friend, that only my friend is going to see it. There are many cases where your friend may not share it, but your friend's phone might get compromised by someone of her friends, and they may see something, take a picture and share it. Trust me, all the different scenarios that could happen will probably happen. If you share something that you deem to be private and you don't want it to get out, it will probably get out. So just remember that nothing is secure or private once shared online. And, those same friends might force you into doing something or saying something or writing something or posting up something on the internet that, deep down inside, you really wouldn't want to. And virtual pressure is a very, very real thing. You don't want to feel left out. You want to be accepted. You want to be part of that group, part of that, that team, that clique. You want, you don't want to be left out. You want to be accepted. So, and there are so many different tactics that other students will probably use, which in a sense is cyberbullying, to get you to do what, they want to do, fully well knowing that that might be a wrong or a bad thing. But you must stand your ground. You must stand your ground and don't be afraid of being different or being yourself. You know, just be afraid of being the same as everyone else, as you're reading here. You know, because you are in control of what you put on the internet, what you upload to the internet, what you share on the internet, what you do on the internet. All of that, in a nutshell, is referred to as digital footprint. And your digital footprint is extremely important. Our entire lives now are being recorded, whether we like it or not, or know it or not. And sometimes just a quick Google search, anyone can find pretty much anything about you. So, parents, have you ever Googled your child's name? I'm hoping that you would have Googled at least your name already. But have you ever Googled your child names? Or even kids, have you ever Googled your name? And it's something that you might want to do to kind of figure out what is being said about you on the internet. You see, while your digital footprint might be small at this stage, you would have probably already started to build it. So every comment that you might have made, your music playlist, your gaming nicknames, some videos you uploaded, your Twitches, your WhatsApp messages, all of these things form part of your digital footprint. And as you get older, say, by the time you reach Form 5 and Form 6, you'll be surprised of the amount of data that was collected from you by all of the online platforms that you interacted with. Now, some of this data is mostly public and can easily be searched on by university admission officers, for example, who would quite often use an internet search as one of their main references when trying to find information about a particular person. So yes, you might not be thinking about university right now, but the things that you're doing on the internet can influence, and understand the term, it can influence your admissions or your application into a university or even a scholarship program. So you have to be very careful about your digital footprint and what you post on the internet, because it could come back to be to have very negative effects on you when it really matters, and the example that we gave here today is, when you're applying for university. And that's way down the road, but things can happen along the way as well. So I want to change gears a little bit and speak to you about some general cybersecurity tips on the three particular areas. And those areas are social safety, hardware safety, and information safety. And that's your comprehensive strategy to being safe online. And this is more important now, I believe, than before. So I know that this slide looks quite busy. There's a lot of stuff here. But even though we're going to go through it, there's a website address that you're seeing here. And you can visit that site, that address, to get a very large printable version of this if you want to keep it or always want to reference it as you go along. And this is tips that anyone really and truly that would be utilizing an electronic device going forward. It doesn't have to be a student. You parents can use this as well. So let's start off on the information safety. So we have our nice new laptops. We need to ensure that we keep the software updated. The software that I am referring to is the operating system and any other software that you might have, for example, Microsoft Word or Windows Movie Maker, any one of those programs that you might be using in school. You want to ensure that it's updated. Why? One, you want to make sure that the program works efficiently and fast as it was meant to be, and two, that it's secure and protected from any sort of external threats. And those external threats that we were speaking about would be things like viruses and malware. So the next natural thing would be for us to install antivirus and anti-malware software. And of course, malware, as it says, is bad software, and they can do really harmful things to your computer. So it's something that you definitely want to look into. And lastly, on the topic of information security, we're going to speak about today is strong passwords. I know utilizing strong passwords is very difficult for many, even myself. But the tip that I want to give you today is that if you have to use a password, one, please ensure that it's not a weak password. And you can visit cybersafety.com/passwords to understand a little bit more on strong and weak passwords. But even more importantly, please don't use the same password in multiple applications. That's not going to be good for you. If one of the passwords are compromised, then chances are all of your systems will become compromised. So on the topic of hardware safety, many of us might have just invested in a brand new laptop if you're lucky enough to be able to afford one. And you really want to protect it. You don't want anything to go wrong with it because you only have one, more than likely. And at one day without a laptop, now is going to be quite detrimental because you're going to miss every single thing that went on, and it's going to be probably a little bit more difficult to catch up, going forward. So you want to protect the hardware itself, protect the device, invest in a surge protector or UPS. And at the end of the day, these are electronic devices, so things can go wrong. So you really want to back up. You want to back up your data on a regular basis. I would recommend, investing in an external hard drive to back up stuff and also back things up in the cloud. Again, visit cybersafety.com/backup for a full strategy, as to how to keep your stuff secure. And then, of course, we'll be looking at the social stuff, things like configuring your privacy settings. So many of the kids here, they may not be on social media, given that the beginning age to start most social media accounts is 13 and or 16, depending on the platform. So if you'd follow those rules, then you really would not have had a social media account as yet. But if you do, it's fair game. But just ensure that you would have configured your security settings and privacy settings to limit whom you're sharing your information to and what you're really sharing. More importantly, your privacy settings for your microphone and camera. So you really want to monitor that webcam. The webcam on your laptop, once it's on, you would see a light, like a green light or a red light right next to the camera. So sometimes you might be using an application that would have been used in the webcam, and you move out from that application and go on to another one. You need to ensure that the webcam is turned off and not being used by the other application, or just basically not being used when you don't want it to. I know some folks who have gone really old school and they just decided, listen, I'm going to just stick a piece of masking tape over my camera. And it's all well and good. You really just want to ensure that you monitor these things so that things are not being shared unbeknownst to you. So visit the website. You can get more information in this, and each of those areas have a separate page on cyber safety with a lot more information. And I know that we're running a little bit short on time, so we're gonna quickly follow through with some tips for parents, and that's what the last set of slides are going to be on. So this is a challenge for everyone, the kids as well as yourself, parents. Adapting to this, digital divide is going to be a challenging and a very difficult one. You probably already have swamped emails to deal with. Now we need to remind our kids who have not come from that environment to start looking and reading at their email, because this is going to be the means of communication that their teachers and classmates are going to start sending and sharing information. You want to review their work and ensure that their assignments are submitted, and please, let's not wait until the very last minute to submit those assignments. Other than procrastination, it's we also have technology challenges that we have to deal with. Waiting until the last minute, power can go. You can have no internet. Now, what's your excuse at that point, right? So complete your assignment, submit it, in the earliest possible time, just to avoid, any sort of issues. There is another website link on this page where you can get more details on, digital pointers for families in a virtual learning environment. And really and truly, at the end of the day, parents, it's about being a parent in the virtual world the same way in which you are in the real world. And it's easy to say, but it's quite difficult to do, I understand, because you really and truly cannot monitor everything that they may be doing online. So I'm here to speak to you today about as well two devices that you can utilize that I personally use at home and have set up for a few other folks, and it works really well. The first one I want to speak to you today about is Koala Safe. It is a physical device that you can purchase from Amazon. There's a new model out to the one that I have, which means that they're probably better features. But this device sits between your internet router and the rest of your network at home. So you pretty much plug it into your internet router and let the device configure itself. It's really straightforward. So your internet router would be your internet provider, whether it is Flow or Digicel or Amplia, whoever it is. And the nice thing about this is it gives you a mobile app that you can use to control from a whole host of different things. You can control the times of the day that you want to grant access to the internet, and not just granting access, but what they can do. So maybe during this time they can just visit Google, but they can't play online games, or they can look at YouTube, but only certain types of videos. And it can also restrict on social media apps and other type of apps and games, and it'll give you reports as to what you've actually done or used on that particular account or device for the week or month or whatever. It's very granular. You can set up content filtering where you can block certain websites or types or categories of websites. So adult websites, for example, you could say once you're on this CyberSafe, Koala Safe, sorry, network, you're not going to be able to see adult websites. And if they do, this is the message that you're going to get, and it's going to actually be followed up with an email to you stating, hey, something happened. Someone attempted to visit a site that they shouldn't have, and this is the details of the information. So Koala Safe, KOALA safe.com. It's a really good non-technical solution for parental control. And I emphasized the non-technical before because the Synology is a little bit more technical. This is actually an internet router. You can use it to manage your entire home network. It's really powerful. It's a bit more expensive than the Koala Safe. And if you want to think a bit more and you are that technical type of person, this would be the one to go with. The software that it has installed and it's called Safe Access, and that's the parental control software. So Safe Access is quite similar to Koala Safe. It allows you to create profiles, create filters, have days and times for which you can grant internet access to. It's just that this one goes in a little bit, more detail with its web content filtering, its internet scheduling, and so on and so forth. You can set profiles, that will make it easier. But then again, these are all the screenshots from the application. And as you can tell, it's very visual, very graphic in terms of presenting the information. Makes it easy, but like I said, it does have a lot more advanced features. This one also comes with a mobile app that would allow you to control the internet access even when you're not home. So this is the nice thing about both of these devices. You can be at work, and if they need a little bit more time to do homework, or they need a little extra internet time, then you can actually set that from anywhere that you want. So both of the devices are quite adequate. I've tested out both. I have Koala Safe at home, and I also have that Synology router as well. If you're looking for a quick solution, one that's not technical, Koala Safe would be my recommendation. And with that, I just want to leave you with this last slide here. We all have to lead by example. And in case you weren't aware, the act of snubbing someone in a social setting by looking at your phone instead of paying attention is called fobbing. I know we were all going to be distracted by our devices, so let's not engage too much in the act of fobbing. And this goes both ways, parents and kids. So with that, I want to say thank you very much for your time this morning. If you'd like to get more information or you want to find out more about what we spoke about today, you can send me an email or contact me. We're on a lot of social media platforms. I really encourage you to visit cybersafety.com. We continue to write articles on topical things related to cyber safety. And like I said, some of the information that was shared today, we do have relatable articles with more information for you to get a better understanding. Take your time, consume the information, and if you still need some clarification, feel free to contact me. So with that, I say thank you very much. Thanks to Naparima girls again for having me at their formal orientation, and I wish each and every one of you a really successful academic year. Thanks. Bye.